Okay, sorry. Let me get back to where I was. I talked about Mark Ingram. I'm giving him upside moving forward because he's on a good team, good defense, good quarterback. A quarterback that is favoring the run. So Mark Ingram, I have him at number 7, but I think he's going to stay like at the number 7 range, but number 7, he's going to be like in the top. That's going to be like the threshold of running backs. It's going to be number 8. Who do I have? I had Lamar Miller. Well, that's where the threshold, cuts off for running backs. Now it's Mark Ingram. He's going to be he could be save your league, win your league. He's going to be consistent. He's going to get the touches. He's going to get the targets. He's going to get the goal line touches. He's getting a better relationship with Sean Payton. So moving forward, Mark Ingram, I like him a lot. Number 6, we got Kareem Hunt. 763 rushing yards, 4 touchdowns, 307 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns. He is a must-start at Dallas Week 9. Moving forward, he is going to develop consistency. So look at him to be getting better as a running back. And I'm talking about he's going to have like 12 to 14 points on average with these next, how many games is it? Like 7 games or whatever. 7-8 weeks left. So look for consistency in his scoring. And then his ceiling, obviously is immensely high. I see him having having one more blow-up game, where he just goes off, shows that he really is like one of the premier rookie running backs. So, keep starting him, trust in him, trust in the Chiefs to use him. They like to run the ball. The Chiefs have always been known to have running backs who, they like to run and they like to throw the ball to their running back. They had Spencer Ware last year, who was a cowbell as well as a pass catcher, and that worked well for them. And Kareem Hunt, he's better than Spencer Ware. So he's more athletic, he's faster, and he's younger. So Kareem Hunt, I have him at number 6. Keep playing him. Number 5, I got LeSean McCoy. Shady McCoy. 546 yards, 3 touchdowns rushing, 242 receiving yards. They just lost to the Jets. So I am a little bit concerned about the Bills. I think they're a little bit overrated. But they just got Kelvin Benjamin. They really needed a wide receiver that they could throw the ball downfield to. You look at their receiving core for the Bills, and you don't know any of them. Like, none of them have any good numbers. None of them have good stats. None of them are any really good. They're not really that good. The best one is probably like Zay Jones. Like, who is that? So I'm going to look at their running back, LeSean McCoy, who is a talent in himself. He doesn't need a good team. He doesn't need a good line. He's a running back that is just give him the ball and he'll do work. So LeSean McCoy, he is number 5. Number 4, Ezekiel Elliott. Now, Ezekiel Elliott, the best thing about him is that he's going to be the most used running back in any offense. He's going to be the most used weapon. He's going to get the most targets of the whole team, the most usage percentage. And he's a cowbell. I mean, if he would just stay out of trouble, he's an MVP candidate every year. He's behind, like, one of the best offensive, the best lines, the best blockers that create space for him, for Zeke. So Zeke, a clear number 4 overall running back. I think it'd be pretty hard to argue with that. Moving forward, you have his pending suspension, 6 games. The latest news, he's going to play week 9 against the Chiefs. I had Zeke. I drafted him 4th overall. And he, I started off the season 7-2. 7-2. Wait, not 7. I'm 5-2. 5-2. And then I traded him 2 weeks ago for Doug Martin and Julio Jones. And then the news came that, his suspension was reinstated, so I was like, yes, I made the right move. But now you see that he has the NFL Players Association backing him up, facilitating his appeals in these courts. And the latest news that happened, they took his appeal, went to the Texas court, which he wanted because he felt that it was favorable for him to get the suspension upheld, but they denied his appeal. Then he appealed at a different court. It was like a 5th Circuit or 2nd Circuit. Like, I'm not gonna pretend like I know what the court system, how they work, but this particular court in New York was the same court that ruled in favor of the NFL in Deflategate. So I'm surprised that his suspension was upheld at this court, because the Texas court that was supposed to favor him denied his appeal. But then you have the court that pretty much started this whole, with Deflategate, it pretty much started this whole war between owner and player, trying to, the owners were just taking advantage of the players. And it kind of just boils down to Roger Goodell wanting to have power, wanting his players to act a certain way. And Ezekiel Elliott is not like that. He's not just the type that's going to just lay down and let some authority figure try to boss him around. Because without the players, you don't have NFL, you don't have football. So, Zeke, number 4. Number 3, Todd Gurley. 627 yards rushing, 5 touchdowns rushing, 293 receiving yards, 3 touchdowns. He's a must-start at New York Giants, and he's a beast. Some experts might tell you that he's not as good as his numbers show. They're contributing a lot of his production to Sean McVay's system implemented into this Rams offense. But regardless, he's putting up the production, he's getting the targets. They're not only using him just as a running back, he's like a primary receiver for that team. So they're not even using Sammy Watkins. You know, they're throwing Gurley in the slot, and you're going to see him catching slot passes, 20, 30 yards downfield, and then just taking off for another 30 yards, and he passes the secondary like nothing because he's such an explosive runner. So he is a dynamic weapon. I consider him as valuable as Ezekiel Elliott and these next two running backs that I'm about to, finish off this segment with. Just because, he dominates the running game and the passing game with this team. He's going to have the highest percentage of usage for this team. He's the best offensive player. So, that should be enough said. I got Todd Gurley, number 3 overall. They play New York Giants. He's a must-start. Number 2. This guy is awesome. He's so cool. He's a rookie. Came out of LSU. He had swag and confidence in college. He has swag and confidence in the NFL. And he embraces the challenges ahead of him. He's had a couple ankle injuries. Sorry, I dropped my card. He's got a couple ankle injuries, but he's had a bye week. They gave him a week rest by playing the other two running backs, Chris Ivory and T.J. Yeldon. Look for Leonard Fournette to pick up the pace again this next week, and really just take the league by storm. Deshaun Watson is out now. He's out of the rookie contention for Rookie of the Year. So you may say these players don't hear the noise, but they're gonna hear the noise. The discussion is gonna come up of who's gonna be Rookie of the Year, who's gonna be the MVP candidates, and if Leonard Fournette's name comes up in either of those lists, you bet your ass he's gonna start performing a lot better, especially being on a team like Jacksonville Jaguars. It's a perfect setup for Fournette because they have a quarterback who can't throw downfield, who can't really throw. He can throw, but he throws interceptions. So they're not going to want to really throw to their wide receivers. He has more upside than Gurley and Zeke, and the reason why he's number 2 ahead of Gurley and Zeke is because his usage overall should be higher, especially in Jacksonville. They're not going to want to throw the ball. Their whole offense is going to run through Leonard Fournette, whereas on the Cowboys, you have the offense running through Dak Prescott to Ezekiel Elliott. You see what I mean? It's still split. Dak Prescott can still choose to throw the ball, and that's about as good an option as handing off to Zeke. I can't really say which is better, but I'm giving more upside to Fournette because he's gonna have the upside for that team is only to go through Fournette, and that's it. So in fantasy, that is like a jackpot. So Leonard Fournette, number 2. Okay, number 1. I'm sure you know who it is by now. Le'Veon Bell. He's got 760 rushing yards, 5 TDs rushing, 219 receiving yards. This guy's a monster. He's going to pick it up in the second half of the season. The first half of the season, the Steelers weren't doing that well. Their record came out pretty good once it was all said and done. But, Roethlisberger had that one week where he was pretty much hinting towards my body can't do it, hinting towards retirement. So But then this team, the Steelers, they got Juju this past week. They finally got Martavis Bryant out of the lineup. He just seemed like he was just kind of being a toxic personality, not really conducive to winning football games. So now that he's out of the picture, and then especially since Juju, he really established himself as a clear number 2 wide receiver in this last game against the Lions. They're set now. The Steelers, they have no more questions to answer. The only thing that they have to do is just execute their game plan. And they got Ben Roethlisberger, who is definitely in a decline, but he's still Ben Roethlisberger. He's still going to make the big play, and he's going to execute when it counts. He's still really clutch. And the fact that he's older, the fact that, he can't get the ball as far downfield as he used to be, is just more upside for Le'Veon Bell. And they got Antonio Brown. They got a good receiving core. They got they have their quarterback. But when I say Le'Veon Bell, they got the best team right now. The Steelers have a really good defense, and their offense, they're the best in the league. I really think they're the number 1 team right now after Week 8 and heading into Week 9. They're on bye. So Le'Veon Bell, moving forward, he has rest for this. He has a week rest right now for the second half of the season, and he wants more production out of himself, and the team wants to put more production into Le'Veon Bell because they need to establish their running game to the full extent so that they can get just those touchdown passes to Antonio Brown and to Juju. And you can't just throw the ball all the way downfield and hit Antonio Brown and Juju Smith-Schuster all the time. Well, maybe you can, but if you want to win a Super Bowl, you want to get better, the biggest upside running back is Le'Veon Bell. And he's the most talented. He is an MVP candidate in my opinion, and I'm really excited to see what he does this second half of the season. And he is number 1. Let me give y'all some honorable mentions. Okay, we got Adrian Peterson, Jay Ajayi, Rob Kelly, Derrick Henry, Tevin Coleman, Jonathan Stewart, LeGarrette Blount, Frank Gore, Christian McCaffrey, Carlos Hyde, and Alvin Kamara. I forgot about Alvin Kamara. Oh no, actually I think I did. I had him at number 11. I had Chris Thompson at number 11. Well, anyways, Alvin Kamara, another really good running back. I'd probably have him at number 16. Just for the fact that he's number 2 behind Mark Ingram. They got a good team too. But, shout out to Alex Collins. He's going to be the Ravens running back. He's going to be the number 1. I even think that he beats out Danny Woodhead when he comes back. I think Danny Woodhead falls into the number 2 slot. Alex Collins has already had some time to develop chemistry with the Ravens, and the Ravens have a good run block. Their line, if you saw their highlights last week, look at Alex Collins' highlights, and you're going to see this one blocking play where the Ravens just had a straight line, just a wall set up for Alex Collins, and I swear it was 15 yards long. And they were just blocking, and it was just a clear path for their running back. So to me, it seems like you don't have to have a good running back to run behind that Ravens line. And their receiving core is banged up. I'm not saying the Ravens are like the best team in the NFL. They still got a long way to go. The upside for them is that they can't get any worse, and they're a decent team right now. So their defense is really good. So give the Ravens, give Alex Collins, the running game, a chance. He's my my sleeping giant right now. Okay, so I went over running backs, wide receivers, and quarterbacks. We got tight ends and defenses. I'm only going to go 10 tight ends because there's not that many tight ends that you can play in fantasy. It's been a really down year for tight ends. There's been a lot of injuries at the quarterback position where a lot of talented tight ends are. It's just that they're not getting the looks. They're just kind of being blockers, playing roles for their team, not really good for fantasy. But there are a few viable tight ends who are on the right team. And the key to winning your league is having a good tight end on a good team, because most leagues you're only going to play one, at the most two tight ends. And since there's such a shortage of tight ends, playing one would be a smart play unless you have two really good ones, but I doubt that's going to happen. But having consistency at the tight end position shows that you value consistency. You want a team that is complete. You don't want a team that is boom or bust every week. That's not what you're trying to do. You're trying to build a team that is going to win you every week comfortably. You don't want to have to worry. You don't want to have to. You want to make your matchups decisions with ease. You want to say with confidence, like, yes, they're going to score more. They're going to score the most. So let me just tell you my top 10 tight ends, and then I'll give you some honorable mentions when I'm done. Number 10, Vernon Davis. I like Vernon Davis. He has 312 yards and 1 touchdown. He has more yards than Jordan Reed, and that's because Jordan Reed is ahead of Vernon Davis on the in the lineup. But Jordan Reed is injured, and Vernon Davis plays really good with Kirk Cousins and when Jordan Reed's not on the field. They still want to make a playoff push. They're still in the hunt with the Cowboys. They lost to the Cowboys a divisional game, so the Redskins are one of those teams that they lose a couple games, they're just going to fall off out of contention, and I don't think they're going to be that good moving forward. But I still see a lot of talent in Kirk Cousins and enough upside in Vernon Davis to give him a start this weekend or stash him on your bench, if you feel that maybe your tight end might get injured, because I'm pretty sure Vernon Davis is he's available on a lot of waiver wires, so go ahead and pick him up if you need a tight end and watch him do some work for you. He could be a tight end that no one really, people overlook because, they think like, well, Jordan Reed's that number 1 tight end over there in Washington, and regardless if he's hurt or not, like, if he is hurt, they're not going to go to him. But no, Vernon Davis is a talented tight end. He's been in the league for a long time, and tight ends always have sure hands. And when you have a tight end with sure hands and a quarterback that likes to throw, and a quarterback who is going to probably have to throw to his security blanket, which is normally the tight end, look for Vernon Davis just to get a lot of production moving forward. Now that I'm talking about him, I really think that I might, pick him up off waivers or, drop a player to pick him up. I'm pretty good at tight end right now, but, an injury or anything could change my season, so, I'd like to have him on my bench. Okay, number 9. Evan Ingram. He's a rookie for the Giants. He's playing with Eli Manning. He has 342 yards and 3 touchdowns. He's a solid tight end. You can play him every week. He's gonna get a lot of volume, a lot of targets, because he's like their best receiver right now. Like, their receiving core is just horrible. Beckham's out. You know, that team really fell apart, and they're just trying to like salvage their pride, but they still got, well, their defense isn't even any good, but the only thing they got is Evan Ingram, really. You know, they got Sterling Shepard back, which I think helps Evan Ingram really, because at least you're pulling off that coverage away from Evan Ingram, and you know they're gonna more teams are gonna have to manage their game plan a little more towards Sterling Shepard also, not just Evan Ingram. Now I'm not giving too much upside to Evan Ingram, but he's a talented tight end. He's super athletic, really big. And he's playing well this year, despite he's like the one bright spot for the Giants, despite their horrible season so far. So, Evan Ingram, I'm starting him. You know, he's a tight end that you can start week in, week out. Number 8. Now this guy, Cameron Brate. Now you're gonna talk. People might say, well, they got O.J. Howard back, right? Well, O.J. Howard's just a rookie. Cameron Brate has been playing well for the Buccaneers early on in the season. He's getting a lot of targets in the end zone. He has 4 touchdowns so far and 405 yards. He's a favorite target for Jameis Winston, so keep playing Cameron Brate. He's kind of like a sell high tight end also, you know, if you want to trade him. But he's still a consistent tight end that you can still win your league with. He's still going to get those goal line opportunities, you know, the red zone opportunities. So Cameron Brate, he's a solid tight end. He's number 8. Number 7. Jared Cook. His stock is up because Derek Carr is back in the lineup. They got Miami in this week. He has 363 yards and 1 touchdown. I like Jared Cook. He won the game for the Raiders against the Chiefs. Like, without that really long pass that they did to him, without that catch, they wouldn't have been in that position to score. And Jared Cook, he was decent at the beginning of the season. It's just that without a quarterback, you're not going to get the ball to your tight end. So, as long as Derek Carr stays healthy, Jared Cook is as good a tight end as any tight end outside of the top 6. So, you know, he's number 7. So, these next 6 are better than him, but this is the threshold I'm talking about. Like, Jared Cook is that threshold where, like, Vernon Davis, Evan Ingram, Cameron Brate are, like, they're good tight ends, but I don't see the upside that these next 7 tight ends have. You know, I actually feel like these tight ends can win you your week. You know, if they score like 14, 20 points, you know, they're going to be the factor. You're going to look at that tight end and say, I'm never going to bench him again because he won me this week. And now that he's doing good now, he's someone that I can trust moving forward. You know, if your tight end, there's so little tight ends that if your tight end does good this week, in week 9, he's your tight end moving forward. And if he's a good tight end and he doesn't do that good, he's still a good tight end moving forward. Because there's so little tight ends, you're not going to have much trouble like having to stream play them every week, because you're going to have the consistent tight ends, and then you're going to have the tight ends who are consistent but just don't have a good game, which happens. You know, you have to set your team up for that, but you're not going to lose. you're never gonna lose your week because of the tight end position, but you can still win your week with the tight end position. So think about that. Having a good tight end is worth drafting. In the early rounds, like I would say the 4th round. I would draft a tight end in the 4th round. So number 7, Jared Cook. He's a start this week against Miami. Number 6, Austin Seferian-Jenkins. 221 yards, 3 touchdowns. He had a touchdown against Buffalo yesterday. I like him. He's really athletic. The Jets' offense can be hit or miss some weeks, but I like the direction that they're heading. I think they. I like Josh McCown a lot, so he's a very efficient quarterback. And if you're gonna play Josh McCown, or if you're gonna play Seferian-Jenkins, a tight end like Seferian-Jenkins, you need to have a good, accurate quarterback. And I think Josh McCown is just that perfect quarterback, because Josh McCown knows he's not, a star quarterback. He knows his limitations. So he knows that his best bet is to throw to Austin Seferian-Jenkins. So, and he's really their best athlete on that team. Like, their running backs are not really anything to really marvel at. The Jets, their wide receivers also, they got Robbie Anderson, and then they got their tight end, Austin Seferian-Jenkins. And they already developed chemistry with Jenkins. So, he's a good tight end. Play him every week. Number 5. And this guy is, he should be, out of the league. But for some reason, every year he comes back and he'll have a year where he looks like an old man. But then the next year he looks like he got 5 years younger. How the heck did he, improve from last year when we saw him drop off so much? Jason Witten, Sure Hands McGee. He can just catch any ball that you throw at him. And he's starting to show some explosiveness, or he has shown some running ability after catching the ball. Whereas in past years, he would just catch the ball and then he would just fall down 1 yard after catching the ball. So his legs were useless, But this year, you see him catching the ball in stride, being an offensive weapon for the Cowboys. And since he has such good hands, Dak Prescott, he's not going to mind throwing to Jason Witten if he sees him open. The second that he sees him open, he's letting that ball go to Jason Witten. He doesn't, if it's a good throw, he's going to throw it. And Jason Witten is one of those guys who's elusive for just being open at the most randomest of times. So I really like Jason Witten moving forward, especially with Zeke. Here's the thing with Zeke and how he affects the offense for the Cowboys. If he stays, it's better for the Cowboys offense. If he leaves, it's better for the Cowboys offense. They're still going to rely on their run no matter what. Their offense isn't going to change. The only thing that's going to change is that either Dak Prescott is going to play better or play worse. And if you believe in Dak Prescott, then you can believe in Jason Witten. It's simple as that. So I got Jason Witten, number 5. Number 4, Zach Ertz. And this is another threshold. There's another tier of tight ends. There's these next 4 tight ends that I'm gonna list off. They are every week, expect them to have a big game, expect them to have a lot of points for you. You would be disappointed if they only gave you 40 yards, no touchdowns, nothing like that. You would feel these are the only tight ends that I would draft really. The other ones you can get in trades, you can buy low. So, like, these are the only tight ends that are franchise tag, tag worthy. Number 4, Zach Ertz. 528 yards, 6 touchdowns. He has Carson Wentz on the team. Every good team uses a tight end. Any team that wants to make a playoff push needs to have a good tight end. The Eagles arguably are one of the best teams. I think they're second best or third best behind the Steelers and the Patriots. But they're as good as any team. They can make a Super Bowl run. They have the probability of them going to the Super Bowl is as good as anybody. So Zach Ertz moving forward is an excellent tight end. He's a must start every week that he plays. And I'm starting him against Denver. I think Philadelphia, I feel like their receiving core has a day against Denver because Denver, yes, they have a good defense, but their offense is not moving. Look for Philadelphia to get stops against Brock Osweiler, against Trevor Siemian, whoever's playing quarterback for Denver. Look for them to, start. They're going to get an interception or cause a fumble, and they're going to start at their own 30-yard line. And then you're just going to have Zach Ertz open right there, and he's going to get a touchdown. Okay, so just have that already pictured in your head. Imagine him being successful, and it's going to happen. It'll just happen. That's all you have to do is trust in Zach Ertz and play him, and that's it. You got it. Number 3. This is my tight end, and I'm a big fan of him. He had a slow year last year. Jimmy Graham. He's finally developing some chemistry with Russell Wilson. They are finally clicking. This is what Russell Wilson needs right now, is a tight end who's going to catch the ball for him. Someone that he can target, who's not going to have drops, who's just going to embrace the role. Jimmy Graham is 30, and if you saw the game against the Texans, he just showed up. I was watching the game, and the whole first half he didn't have much. He had maybe like 1 or 2 receptions, and then the second half they finally go to him, and he gets 2 touchdowns, and then he ends up with 20 points or something like that. And he wins the game for them. So Jimmy Graham going forward, look for him to get more opportunities. Look for Russell Wilson to find him in the end zone consistently every week. And play him, Don't consider him as good as any of these tight ends. He can win your week, just Jimmy Graham, he's just in a good position right now with Russell Wilson and the Seahawks. And his stock is only going up because their running game is horrible right now, but with the trade that they made, their running game will get just that much better to where it will make Jimmy Graham that much better. So there's the upside with Jimmy Graham, and I'm going to just leave it at that. The running backs for Seattle aren't going to get goal line touches. Once they let Marshawn Lynch go, once they threw that pass and that interception, that they pretty much stamped their names into history that they're going to pass the ball to make a touchdown. They're not going to give it to their running back. So in fantasy, that's a good thing. So Jimmy Graham, number 3. I'm starting him versus Washington this week. Number 2, Rob Gronkowski. The only reason he's not number 1 is because he's so injury prone. The way he plays football is just too rough and aggressive. So I feel like he's going to get injured. He's going to have a couple weeks where he's not going to play. I would guarantee that. That's why I would stay away from Gronk. If you have him, play him. Don't be really concerned. But he has injury. He can get injured. So, and they're not really protecting Tom Brady all that well. He's been sacked more times now than he was all season last year. So if they're getting to Tom Brady, that's going to be less time for Tom Brady to throw. That's going to be more likely that he's going to try to throw to Rob Gronkowski early, which means that they can anticipate Rob Gronkowski quicker and put a big hit on him to possibly injure him. Now, Gronkowski is no slouch. He's one of the best tight ends. He's like the best tight end in the game. He's so huge and he's an athletic freak, and he's a good guy too. So he's got a good personality. I like him at number 2. The only small downside is that you have to really watch him week by week, because he's not going to have any season-ending injuries this year. But I do feel like he's just so prone to, since he's so aggressive, the way he likes to play is conducive to him possibly getting more injured. So I'm not saying that he's still number 2 overall in my list. I'm just giving you the facts on what I think. He has been injury prone in the past few years, and he's missed full seasons because of his back or whatever, his neck. I can't really remember, but you just have to really watch him, because he's probably gonna show up on the injury report, and you're not gonna be able to play a tight end. You're gonna have to pick one of these crappy tight ends off the waiver wire. So he's not really a guy that, moving forward, he's a must start every week. But you have to take into consideration his history of injuries. It's like when you get a car, you want to know if it's been in an accident before. And if it has, you're less likely to buy it. But just imagine you're buying a Ferrari and you're getting it for cheap. This is pretty much what Gronkowski is that he's just a Ferrari who works perfectly fine now. It's just that when you sell and when you buy him, you need to know that he's had a history of injuries before. So just Rob Gronkowski number 2. I've said enough about that. Now number 1, Travis Kelce. There's not enough good things you can say about Travis Kelce. He is just as good as chemistry as Tom Brady and Gronkowski have. He has the same chemistry with Alex Smith. And he has 556 yards, 4 touchdowns. Last week, he was one of the tight ends to explode. He had 2 touchdowns. So, Travis Kelce, I'm considering him number 1. Moving forward, he's just going to be a bigger weapon. They're going to use him a lot more. They're going to develop a consistent running game with Kareem Hunt. And then you're just going to see Kelce be more consistent as a tight end. Because I can guarantee you that every week he's going to have at least one, if not two or three chances where the ball is going to him in the red zone, or he's broke free past, he breaks his defender and he's going into the end zone, and he's picking up 20, 30 yards while doing it. So he has a lot, he's not just a tight end that's just going to get open and catch the ball and, run a few yards. No, he's a tight end that catches the ball in stride. He's athletic as a wide receiver in a tight end's body. So, like, Travis Kelce, number 1 overall, he's a must-start against Dallas. Look for him to have a big game. Okay, that wraps up the top 10 tight ends. Now, I'm going to just do honorable mentions because I only did 10, not 15. But, I mean, these are some other tight ends that I would feel comfortable starting just because you need to start a tight end. But most of these guys, they're not going to get you much points. They're kind of sleepers or boom or bust. But you're going to hear some decent names. Jack Doyle, Kyle Rudolph, Austin Cooper, Tyler Kroft, Charles Clay, Delaney Walker, Benjamin Watson, Zach Miller, and Jesse James. Okay, so that is the tight ends. Now, it's time for the defense. The defense I have right here. Okay. I would just do 10. Number 10, I got the Jets. They got 18 sacks, 9 interceptions, and 7 fumbles recovered. And they played the Bills yesterday and they forced a fumble. And I saw the highlights and I said, wow, like the Jets defense are what allowed the Jets to dominate this game offensively. The Bills were really in this game from the start. It was like 7-7. The Jets kind of jumped out 24-7, but then the Bills came back, and then the Jets scored because the Jets defense set them up so close, and they won the game for them. So they get the game ball for the Thursday night game, the Jets defense, and look for them to improve. And if they got the right matchup at home, and there's something that you should pay attention to in the color scheme if you don't. You should really pay attention to the colors of the jerseys that are going against each other. If you're kind of confused as to, like, if you're weighing the variables for, like, who's going to play, like who to play who, look for the color that's dominating the other color. So, like, these dark colors that you would see are these really bright colors that are distracting to quarterbacks that really dominate, and the offset color of the field behind them. So, like, the Jets, they wear all green, right? Super dark green. They're probably gonna, as a quarterback, things are moving really fast. You're going to see all these green things rushing at you, but your peripheral vision is going to see the field. It's not going to even recognize that green, that shade of green. So when it's coming at you with a different color, and that color really affects perception. So, like, that color is a variable I would weigh if you're trying to decide on what defense to play week by week. Make sure that they're the better team. If they're the better team and they're at home and they win the color, you play them. If you're not sure. If they have those 3 variables beat, you start them. So that's a good thing to take into consideration, is the color of their jerseys. Is it a dominant color? Okay. Number 9. And some of y'all are gonna be offended by this because it really is tough for me to say. But number 9 is the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos are like the number 1 defense stopping the run and one of the best defenses in the league, if not the best defense in the league. They have 17 interceptions, or not 17 sacks, 5 interceptions, 1 fumble recovery, and they also have 1 touchdown. The problem with the Denver Broncos is that their defense is that team right now. Their offense is not doing anything. They cannot throw the ball. They're struggling to run the ball. They're struggling to score, you know. It's just a bad situation for the Denver Broncos defense because you're pretty much relying just on the defense to win you the game. And when you're only reliant on the defense, that defense wears down throughout the game. And when you're playing a team that has a more even, complete team, their offense can actually move. You know, all they have to do is score 2 touchdowns, and then the Denver Broncos they're playing on their toes. I mean, they're playing on the heels of their feet the rest of the game simply because they don't have enough offensive power to get them to compete. You know, they're still a really good team. It's just that they're number 9 right now. Number 9, Broncos. Number 8. Number 8. I have the Minnesota Vikings. They're on bye. They have 24 sacks, 7 interceptions, 3 fumbles forced, and they're looking pretty good. What helps this team's defense is their offense. Being able to sustain their drives. You know, the Vikings have a good defense as it is. But when you have an offense with Case Keenum and all those sure-handed wide receivers, a good running backs, you know, a good offense helps the defense because it demoralizes the other team by scoring, and then when you have an offense like Minnesota who runs the ball and throws efficient and effectively, they're really going to look to manage the clock throughout the whole game with, you know, if their offense takes over, you know, they're going to manage the clock, and then their defense is going to have the energy to play when they are called upon. So Minnesota Vikings, number 8, you know, maybe they should be a little bit higher because I'm kind of talking them up really high right now. So they're number 8 for now. Number 7. I got the Seahawks. They're letting up a lot of points. They're letting up more points than normal. And they still got, you know, Richard Sherman. They still got freaking all their good players on there. So, like, they're still a really good team. They got 17 sacks, 8 interceptions, 5 fumbles, 3 touchdowns. Their offense they need to have a running game, and then that team is good. But I don't think they're ever going to have a good running game all year. So I think they're going to struggle because when you don't have a running game, you're going to be forced to, like, throw the ball more, which leads to more chances for interceptions, more chances for just like 4 and outs really, because like you don't have anyone to like just get you those down checks, those check downs that you just need sometimes just to catch a breather, just to have your team flowing correctly, not just having to throw it every time. The thing about the Seahawks is that their offense is going to be fine with Russell Wilson. Their defense is great, but they're still they're gonna allow points just from the way, without them having a running game to sustain drives. They're gonna score. They're either gonna score quickly or they're gonna just get off the field. And I see them scoring quickly, the Seahawks, but then I also see the Seahawks letting up a lot of points, but being comfortable with it because they know that what type of shootout they're getting themselves into. And I see another shootout this weekend against the Redskins, and I still think they're a decent play, but don't expect like big numbers from them this week because they just allow too many points. And if you're in a league where the points allowed affects their fantasy points, they're gonna score really low, and like they're not gonna be able to get enough sacks, enough interceptions. They're only gonna get like I feel like they're gonna average like 1-2 interceptions a game, like 1 interception, 1 fumble forced. I do like them going forward because it is the Seahawks. They're known for their defense, and those players are gonna get better. But the factor here is just their running game. They have to improve in their running game, and that's just what it comes down to. That's number 7, the Seahawks. Number 6, we got the Lions. They got 13 sacks, 10 interceptions, 6 fumbles forced, and 3 touchdowns. I like the Lions. I like their matchup this weekend against Green Bay. I like them moving forward because they're in the same division as Green Bay. They still need to win some games if they want to make playoffs and win the division. So they're still going to be battling, so they're still going to be putting their defense is going to play with pride. They're going to play aggressively like they always do. They're going to rush the quarterback. They're going to get lots of sacks. They're going to cause a lot of fumbles, and they're going to get a lot of interceptions moving forward. I like their jerseys. I like how the blue that they have, that they wear, I feel like they have a swarming defense, so they just need Matthew Stafford to score some touchdowns, and they're going to be just fine. I would play them I'm playing them this week against Green Bay. Number 5, we got the Rams. They got 23 sacks, 9 interceptions, 3 fumbles, 3 touchdowns. The Rams, they're a good team. They're just a good team. Their defense has not looked spectacular, but the numbers, they put up good numbers. And when you have a offense that scores like that under Sean McVay's system, you demoralize the other team because you're just seeing Todd Gurley just run in for a touchdown, and then the crowd just blows up, and like you have the whole stadium cheering for this score, or you're gonna be having your home crowd booing at you because Todd Gurley is scoring up your gut. And that's what makes the Rams defense so good, is their offense. Because they can run the ball. Running the ball is what sustains drives. It's what allows defense to get rest and play at their maximum potential in the next in the next change of possessions. Rams, number 5. Number 4, I got the Saints. they're really good for fantasy. They got 19 sacks, 9 interceptions, 2 fumbles forced. They have young talent. They got 3 touchdowns this season. And I like them because they're young. I have upside in them because they're young where, like, they can still play. As an athlete, you go through these, you're in if you're in high school, you can freaking play all day. You could go play basketball, you could go play football, you could be outside all day and never get tired. If you continue to work out and in your young 20s, you're the same way, especially if you're in the NFL, you should have a good recovery speed. Your body should be functioning at a high level. When you're young, you produce more HGH, human growth hormone, naturally, which is conducive to healing your body. And I like that with the defense, like the Saints, and they got a good team who can run the ball and throw the ball effectively. They're not going to have any turnovers. Drew Brees is not going to throw interceptions. What makes a good defense is a good offense, having someone that can sustain the drive. So they're number 4, the Saints. Number 3, I got the Philadelphia Eagles. 22 sacks, 9 interceptions, 5 fumbles, 2 touchdowns. The Eagles always look good on defense for fantasy. The Eagles are just known for rushing the passer and being able to take down the quarterback on the opposing side. Every game, it's like you always see a swarm of Eagles, like, just getting towards the quarterback or just getting after it on just a tackle for loss, or getting a fumble and just turning it into a touchdown. I feel like you see that every year with the Eagles, and they're only on the upside moving forward because they finally have a quarterback who is their franchise quarterback, and there's no doubts on whether or not this team is good this year. A lot of years they're good at the beginning and then they just fall off. It's not like that anymore. The Eagles are for real this year. They're number 3 on defense. They're Super Bowl contenders. They're better than the Cowboys. So even with Ezekiel Elliott, the ceiling for the Cowboys, you don't know their ceiling really on their offense. Their defense is bad. The Philadelphia Eagles' ceiling is high. Their ceiling is really high. Whereas the Cowboys' defense, their ceiling is really high, but they haven't even played to their potential yet. So you really don't know. You don't know what to expect from them because, especially with Zeke, his pending suspension, that is a big factor. So Eagles, number 3. I'm gonna leave it at that. Number 2, I got the Steelers. I like their jersey colors. I like the 26 sacks that they have. I like the 7 interceptions. I like the 4 forced fumbles, or the 4 fumbles recovered, and the 3 touchdowns. I like how they played against Matthew Stafford. I like how their record is, they only have 2 losses so far, whereas I thought they would be like 500 right now, and the Steelers just responded. They've responded to adversity, with Ben Roethlisberger having, almost given up on himself really in those interviews post-game. But then, to have him return and just have Juju play well and finally get rid of Martavis Bryant, he's not someone you want on the team, someone who's just always wanting the ball. No, you want someone who's going to be a team player, who's going to play their role. And Juju Smith-Schuster, he's a team player who's super talented, who's better than Martavis Bryant, who has a higher ceiling than Martavis Bryant's career could have. I know Martavis Bryant's had a crazy career, but whatever. I like this guy Juju, and I like the Steelers. I like their defense. They got the best running back in the game. they have the best wide receiver in the game, and they have a top 10 quarterback. So, Steelers, number 2 defense in the league. Number 1 defense. And this defense is really good. It is the best defense in the league, hands down. Their best player, Jalen Ramsey, shut down corner. And they have, like, 2 other Pro Bowlers on their team. Like, you cannot stop the Jacksonville Jaguars defense. They're just going to shut down every wide receiver every week. They're going to slow down the running game. They're going to have the effect that the Denver Broncos have when you see their defense just dominating. The only difference is Jacksonville's offense is moving enough. Leonard Fournette moves enough. He's so explosive. He's such a good running back. And then this defense is just so great that you have to love them. You have to play them. You're not really worried about the matchup. They just have so much talent on their roster that you know their defense is going to score you points. So Jacksonville Jaguars, 33 sacks, 10 interceptions, 6 fumbles recovered, and 4 touchdowns. Those are some great stats. I like them. I think I like Leonard Fournette, and I think that makes their defense better. If Blake Bortles was any better of a thrower, they would suck. Because they would be worse. They wouldn't suck. They would just be worse because they would think that they need to throw more with Bortles when they just need to keep handing the ball off to Leonard Fournette. So think about that. Leonard, they're the best defense in the league. They want to make a playoff push. They're only going to play better. Their ceiling is super high. They're super young. And they're just, everything about them just says, like, best defense in the league. So, that is my top 10 defenses. I should have some honorable mentions here. I don't know if I do. No, I don't have any honorable mentions. So that concludes my top players at each position. I'm going to just do a quick rundown of the games this weekend, and I'm going to give you my prediction. I'm just going to tell you who's going to win. I'm just going to freestyle it. I'm just going to look at the schedule. Ravens, Titans, I got Ravens winning. Rams, Giants, I got Rams. Buccaneers versus Saints, I got the Saints. Broncos and Eagles, I got the Eagles. Okay, so I already said Denver. Okay, Denver versus Philadelphia, I got the Eagles. Atlanta versus Carolina, I have Atlanta winning that game. Cincinnati versus Jacksonville, I have Jacksonville winning that game. Indianapolis versus Houston, I have Houston winning that game. Arizona versus San Francisco, I have San Francisco winning that game. Washington versus Seattle, I have Seattle winning that game. Kansas City versus Dallas, I have Dallas winning that game. Oakland versus Miami, I have Oakland winning. Detroit versus Green Bay, I have Detroit winning. And then New York already beat Buffalo 34-21. I'm not going to say I knew the Jets were going to win. I kind of thought the Bills would, but that game, it's a Thursday night game, so, take what you want from it. I would say that the Jets won. They're a much improved team, but they don't really have a super high ceiling because they can only go as far as Josh McCown, and Josh McCown, he's playing really well, but you know, he's not the best quarterback in the league. And those are my picks. Those are my picks. I hope they're all right. Like, they're not that they're all right or good. Like, I hope all of them are right. That they all are right. Okay? Now, I got one more thing I want to do. And this is for my friends. I just want to rank my league's top 6 teams going into week 9. I'll just say the names of the teams, you know. Y'all can just kind of take what you think, take my opinion, and just shove it up your ass. Okay, the standings are... We have Miles with that Yak at number 1, HTX Professionals at number 2, RGV 4, number 3, Saved by the Bell number 4, Mab Blitz, me number 5, Clutch number 6. Okay, best teams right now. Number 1, RG4 Bulldogs. Number 2, Saved by the Bell. Number 3, Mad Blitz. Number 4, Miles with that Yak. Number 5, HTX Professionals. Number 6 is Clutch. So the top 6 are pretty much the top 6. They're the ones that's going to make the playoffs. And that's going to conclude my stream. I've been streaming for a while and I'm tired. And I really hope y'all take my advice and y'all subscribe. And I'm just trying to develop followers. I hope you find my advice good.